Hi everyone, this is Mr Neel Raithatha, also known as the Wax Whisperer. Thank you for joining me in my latest video. This is of a very interesting case of a patient who attended with bilateral blocked earwax. Now, I'm showing you the left ear first. This is the patient's left ear, but however, I actually performed the right ear first when they attended. The reason for showing the left one first is, although the left one is a bit challenging as well, the right one more so. So I'm just building up suspense for you guys. So now the left ear in comparison to the right ear, it was a lot wider. You'll see the right ear after we complete this procedure. It was extremely narrow. It's very, very difficult for that reason to not only visualize inside the ear, but then also to insert the instrument at the same time to be able to extract the wax. In this, the left ear, you can see the wax is very mushy. It's the mashed potato type of wax I often make reference to. They had been using hydrogen peroxide drops, which can have this similar effect on earwax. Hydrogen peroxide drops, it may be very good if you irrigate the ears, if you're washing it out. So I know some professionals still use that technique, and I suspect hydrogen peroxide, the consistency, we call it tempering. So when you're washing out earwax, you want to have the earwax in a similar consistency to the medium that you're using to wash out. So when you're irrigating the ear, you're using water. Therefore, both sodium bicarbonate drops and hydrogen peroxide drops, it makes the wax a bit more wetter and looser. So we call that tempering. It's actually a chef term. I used to work as a chef, believe it or not. So when you're folding in, when you're whisking your egg whites, for example, and then you're trying to stir in. I used to make macaroons. So you've got your almond paste, and then you've got your egg whites. And when you you're folding in, that's the word I was looking for. When you're folding in the almond paste, because of the density of it, it can knock out all the air from the egg whites, the meringue that you've been whisking up. So what you kind of do, you sacrifice some of that, the egg whites, probably about a third of it, and you put that in with the almond, or you fold in the almond with that, and you don't mind beating all the air out. So you're basically you're converting the consistency of the almond powder, the ground almonds, as close as possible to the egg whites, and then you can gently fold it in, and you can preserve all the air in the remaining meringue. If you just fold it in, the ground almond straight away, it would be very, very difficult. You probably knock the air out of all of it. So what I'm trying to explain it there is just a way of giving you an analogy. If you're irrigating the ear, you kind of possibly want the wax to be the closest possible consistency to the water itself, just making it wet and loose. And probably that's what hydrogen peroxide drops does. Sodium bicarbonate drops, I know it does do that as well. Turns the wax very molten. But when you're suctioning the ear, you don't want it to be that mushy consistency. It can make it quite difficult to suction because it clogs up the suction probe. It doesn't really vacuum then, and it keeps getting blocked. In any case, managed to remove that. It's a bit of soft debris around the edge. I saw a comment yesterday. Someone said I didn't complete the procedure, and it's just we're not trying to remove every little last speck of wax, guys. It's just not what we do. It's people's ears, and if it was your ear, and we're trying to make people hear better. And fortunately, I've got the eye clear scope, so I'm able to visualize some parts of the ear that most specialists that perform earwax removal would not be able to visualize. Maybe that's its downfall in a way. Maybe when you're viewing via an endoscope, especially the eye clear scope, you can see so much, and then you kind of think, well, there's a bit left here, a bit left there. Whereas most specialists wouldn't even see some of that. And it was a procedure yesterday. There was all this gunk on the anterior recess, and I kind of made reference to it in the video itself. Most specialists with their technology, even with the wax scope that I've developed, I probably wouldn't have visualised that. It would have been very difficult. But I was able to visualise it with the endoscope, and then I removed it, and I had to bend the fine end just to get, around that curvature, around the entire recess. And this gunk was on the eardrum, the patient was dizzy, and I got as much gunk out as I could safely as possible, and we could see the whole eardrum, and the procedure was complete. But then you get a few comments, and so I'm going to be honest. There's a lot of videos that I probably haven't uploaded in the past because there's a bit of remnants here and there, and I got a bit worried. Oh, YouTube fans will kind of have a go at you. I'm going to start uploading them because I think it's important that people see that, and I think it's because if it's your ear, believe you me, you don't want someone scraping every little speck out of wax out your ear. It's not healthy. A bit of wax is good. Wax is a natural substance. It's there for a reason. It provides a kind of a waterproof coating, so it repels water from the ear. It's oily, so it moisturizes the skin, the delicate layer of skin, the epithelial layer, which is less than 0.1 millimeters in a 2/3. You can imagine how fragile that is, and if it cracks, it can become very itchy. So it lubricates that. Wax is acidic. The acidity helps repel insects. It's a natural insect repellent. In addition, the earwax, the acidity helps to inhibit the formation of certain bacteria or the kind of reproduction of bacteria and fungi. So it's antimicrobial, and wax is sticky. So foreign particles, dust, dirt, pollen that enter the ear, they attach itself to the wax sticks to it, and for most people, 93% of the population, the wax comes out naturally. As the skin in the ear canal and on the eardrum dies and sheds, it moves sideways out of the ear naturally in a conveyor belt. And then you get another layer of skin which dies and that sheds and that moves out of the ear. And then you've got another skin replacing. It's a constant synthesis of new skin and replacing of the old skin. In those people that skin no longer migrates or it can't migrate. For example, this patient's ear in the right ear, it's very narrow, and that's possibly contributes to the buildup of wax. So any wax sitting on the surface of the skin would also come out with the skin as it comes out. So wax is actually good for us. The plan is not trying to remove every little aspect of wax. Now, if there's a spot of wax here and there, and I feel that the patient's steady and I'm confident, and if I hover over, and it's going to make a difference to the patient's hearing, or I'm not risking any trauma, then yes, of course, why not? But if it's just surface coating wax, and like in the last year, and you'll see it on this side as well, there's a few remnants on the eardrum. I'm not going to be silly. It's a very complex case to begin with. And in fact, this patient got referred to me by a colleague who just looked in their ears, and they went in and they found it difficult, and the patient kind of jumped a bit. And so the specialist, which is great of the specialist, because you want to have the patient's best interest at heart. They referred the patient to myself. So we've done such a great procedure. We don't want to kind of just throw it away by doing something silly. And it's people's ears in the day. We don't want to cause trauma. We don't want to perforate the ear. So a bit of wax is good for you guys. Now I'm going to start uploading some more videos where there's a bit of wax. I think I've got to normalise that, make it acceptable, because sometimes it's not, and you read certain comments and you just think, if only you knew half of it. Anyway, patient's right ear, you can see how narrow it is. It's so narrow. Now in this ear, they reported a sudden hearing loss about 4 months ago, and they explained to me that they had so much else going on, and that they kind of just put it on the back burner, but then their left ear got blocked, and then they had no hearing. And when they came to the clinic, when I was calling the patient's name in the reception area, they did not respond. They could not hear. And we've got a radio. Now, they were sat next to the radio in the reception, and it just played some nice classical music just to try and relax everyone. After removing the wax and the patient came back at the reception to make payment, obviously the radio was there, and they were shocked to be able to hear the radio. So you can see that some of the remnants on the ear. Now both ears were retracted. They've got middle ear, glue ear. So we've diagnosed them with that. So look, I'm on the outer third here. I'm just going to mop this up. This is not going to cause any trauma to the patient. On the outer third, the cartilaginous portion. It's not uncomfortable, but I'm happy with what we've done as it is. Now, if it wasn't such a narrow ear and there's a bit of more of a blob there, and it was a different consistency, I might well go onto the eardrums. I feel I'm not going to cause any injury or trauma, and I can easily get that without a tussle. That's all the remnants. A lot of it got suctioned up in the patient's left ear because of the consistency. Well, I hope you enjoyed that video, guys. Take care and keep well. Remember, be nice and be kind to each other. Thank you. Bye.